The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Global Sim Racing Channel's broadcast of Round 16 of the Lionheart Retro Series. Tonight's race will feature iRacing's classic Lotus 79 at the concrete jungle known as the Monster Mile. Sit down and gear up for what could be a wild race for the Cure 150. Hello, I'm Adam Young, and with me tonight in the booth is Tanner Sharp, in the director's chair, Mr. Joe Peak, and he'll be featuring the wonderful cameras of Dougie Beard. Good evening to you, Tanner, and welcome to Dover, Delaware, as we begin a stretch of 3 ovals to end the 2017 season. This place, Dover, holds a special memory for me because it was the first big track I ever got to go to growing up. Being 12 and looking at all the grandstands and buildings lining the track left an impression, otherwise I probably wouldn't be here today. And now, I'm much older and can appreciate the little details, which I think you have for us.
Yes, absolutely. You're talking about Dover and these last string of ovals that are coming up. I shall say this is one of the hardest oval tracks that these guys are going to go to during these 3 string ovals. Dover International Speedway is a 1-mile race course. It is not asphalt, it's concrete. One of the few concrete racetracks out there on an oval side of racing with 24 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And there's also banking on a straightaway. That's right, you heard me correctly, banking on a straightaway, which is banked 9 degrees of banking. And this track, if you're going to have green flag pit stops, which we might see tonight, is one of the hardest pit roads to get onto on an oval side because you're going down to 35 miles an hour. So, to get an idea how to get around this joint of Dover, and hopefully Miles doesn't grab whoever's doing the lap guide here, let's take it on board to the GSRC Lotus 79 to show you a way around the Monster Mile.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Global Sim Racing Channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the Dover International Raceway, the legendary Lotus 79. Without further ado, here we go. Going to keep this machine wound up high in the revs, out here towards the wall, down into turn 1, drive it right to the bottom of the track. You're going to want to basically get those tires right on to where that seam is. Don't let it drift up too much out towards the wall on your qualifying lap. You'll be scrubbing off speed. Turn 3, same thing, sparks shooting off the back of the machine, letting the rough side drag, hanging the bottom line there off of turn 4, keeping it low again. Throughout the run, you could see guys maybe take a little higher entry into turn 1 and try to diamond it down and maybe get a run with the draft that these cars can pull, but I don't think you're really going to see guys venture all the way up to the top. Turn 3, again, you could see them go up. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of maneuvering, but been wrong before. Coming off of turn 4, out of it, across the line, and that's going to complete our guide here around the Dover International Speedway. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
Now, Jason Galvan is a former winner here in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, and I'm sure he'd like to get up front in one of these Lotus 79s here tonight, as would a lot of guys, as we've all been taken aback by Adam Blocker's near dominance since he entered the series. He'll be looking for his 4th win and his 8th start the season here for tonight, and he is in fact in the field. But tonight's race could very well be decided on fuel and pit strategy, according to some of the intel we've been receiving. Now, Tanner, walk us through the race details and talk a little bit about that fuel game here for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That field game is interesting, but we are on race 16 out of 18. 150 laps equals 150 miles around a 1-mile race course like Dover. About 1 to 2 pit stops. Now, that's a crazy deal. It's anywhere between a 75 to an 85 sprint on fuel. But it's going to be, if we do go green flag racing, it's going to be very hard to get on pit road because you have to woe it down without spinning it out, and you might speed on pit road. So be careful of that. Circle that as we go on tonight's event. Incident cap times 8. So if you hit a times 8 by hitting a wall or another car or off the racing course, that's a times 2 all the way to a times 4. But you get to a times 8, you lose championship points. And a times 12 is a disqualification and 5 championship points. No fast repairs tonight, but another thing I do want to circle here, Adam, is the weather. 78 degrees with track temperature at 103 degrees. So pretty slick out there on the Monster Mile here tonight. 2 laps these guys are going to go for a qualification. That's a lone qualification, not a group qualifying, so it's going to be very interesting from qualifying all the way to the checkers.
I like that shot that Joe just had a minute ago with Miles the Monster out there. So, and that's one thing too. Going back to the fuel numbers, Tanner, is what we're hearing is that 75 to 85 laps is going to be if we're able to get a few cautions. And I think Miles the Monster is pretty hungry tonight. I'm expecting to get those few cautions. If for some reason we don't, the fuel laps, mileage laps here, pretty much the same thing. A mile racetrack is actually looking to be about 63 laps if we stay green all the way. So fuel could very well play a big role, especially if we do end up with some green flag runs. Now, we've got just 3 races left in the season, including tonight's. And they're all ovals. We are done turning right this year. It's all about the left-handers from here. And the last race of the year, coming up in little less than a month, is worth double points as the last leg of the Triple Crown. Tonight's race, though, all about those standard points, but maybe something more important, momentum. All of these drivers will be looking to build that because with those double points looming, all the championships could still be in play, although a little help might be needed for some of those guys. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at those drivers' championship points right now. And at the top of the leaderboard is still Jake Wright. Jake Wright, very consistent season, one of the cleanest drivers out there, and he knows how to bring a car home. And his worst oval finish this year so far has been 16th. Now, he doesn't want to get a 16th place finish, and he doesn't want to finish worse than that for sure, because Ryan Otis has made it into the session here for tonight, and he's going to be looking to capitalize on every mistake. The same with Jason Galvin. They need a little bit of help, but it is doable to get those guys up there and to challenge Jake Wright. If Jake Wright were to run into some sort of trouble, and if you're going to run into trouble, this is the kind of track that you could possibly run into trouble at. Now, there's also a team championship on the line, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at those standings as well. And, of course, Jake Wright and the gang on top of the point standings there. Now, Adrenaline Motorsports, as well as AGR Motorsports, hot on their tails. They've been slowly gaining ground here over the last couple of races, but once again, could use a little bit of help to get back in this fight. Now, Dragonfly Racing, and unfortunately, we've mentioned it before, unfortunately, with the passing of Patrick Taylor here earlier this season, they've kind of lost their momentum. I think they've had a lot on their minds, and that's completely understandable, but they could still get back in this thing if they have a few things go their way as well. And the series does issue bonus points for winning the pole, leading a lap, leading the most laps, and running an incident-free race. And since we brought up the double points race at the end of the season, your bonus points are going to be doubled then too. So, like I said, championship still very much in play. Now, Tanner, Adam Blocker's dominance in stealing points away. We've got the likes of, we're understanding that Scott McClendon, a Peak Antifreeze Pro driver, is going to be in this race here for tonight, and I do see him out there and on the grid. He could be out there stealing points from these guys here. So Ryan Otis is pretty much needing Jake Wright to end up in some sort of rare, and I want to emphasize rare trouble here in order to get himself back into the points fight. The storylines are almost endless. But with that, what are 3 things these guys are going to need to do to pull off the win tonight?
You just mentioned Ryan Otis needs Jake Wright to have some rare trouble. Well, that's one of the key features there tonight, is staying out of trouble. Take care of your car on track. That's the first thing you do. You don't take care of your car on track, Miles the Monster, that statue that our director, Mr. Joe Peak, showed, he'll reach out and grab you. I mean, you hit that wall and that outside wall coming on the eggs of the corners, that can really end your day just like that, the snap of a finger. So take care of your car on the racetrack. Secondly, don't beat yourself on pit road. You've seen it multiple times on the NASCAR side as drivers speeding on pit road because it is 35 miles an hour here. And in a stock car, you're going about 165 to 170. Here, they're going just a little quicker because it's open wheel. So don't beat yourself on pit road. And that transition from a flat to a 24 degrees of banking can get really dicey, that's for sure. Also, when you're on the racetrack, be patient on your passes. Dover's notorious for having hard, almost impossible to pass on track. You've always seen it on the NASCAR side. Same stipulation here tonight. That arrow push on corner entrance is going to be a big time key. So be patient on your passes. And if someone else makes a mistake on track, take advantage of it. So take advantage of other people's mistakes is going to be key. So staying out of trouble will get you to victory lane.
And we got the cars coming on the track to qualify now for a 5-minute qualifying session. And these guys do get 2 laps to qualify here for tonight. One of my favorite painted cars out there, Dylan McKenna. And one thing I want to bring up too, Tanner, and he brought up the pit road thing. Don't beat yourself up on pit road. One other aspect to me is these are open wheel cars. They do not have rev limiters. These are true to the Lotus 79 of that era. There are no pit road speed limiters or anything like that on these machines, so you don't have that to lean against. So you're right, you have to be very careful out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you really got to be patient when you're getting down pit road, at least trying to. I've seen drivers even exit just before, getting towards that apron, just before they hit turn 3, just to make sure. And I've also seen drivers try to transition from that banking to the apron and just completely spin it out. So in Dover, as I'm sure you know, Adam, it is one of the hardest pit roads to get onto. So a good thing we don't have an early commitment cone. Otherwise, we would see a lot of trouble there. But still, don't beat yourself on pit road. Take care of your car and be patient on your passing.
Yeah, you keep on going back to the stock cars here. Well, it is an NASCAR track that we're on here tonight. And I will say that out of all my Gen 6 experience, there is one pit road that I hate getting onto more than Darlington. And you want to guess where it's at?
Bristol.
No, right here. Dover, Delaware. But yeah, at least you got the concrete part right.
That's true, because I always considered Dover a blown up Bristol with all of its banking, but the only difference is that there's banking everywhere, even the straightaways.
Well, here, so far, you got on the leaderboard. You see Jason Galvin up top early. Look who is in second place. That's Ryan Otis. The speeds are very close here for tonight. And, Ryan Otis, he just jumped in the session 5 minutes ago, and he's second on the leaderboard for qualifying. Jake Wright third. So your top 3 in the points right now, right up there, and the top 3 on the grid. We're still looking for some big names out there to try to qualify, including Scott McClendon, Mark Amok, is out there waiting on him, as well as Rory Collins. So we'll see what kind of times they can put down. There's some of your fastest guys that haven't been able to get down times. In fact, there you go. There's Adam Blocker moving up into second position now on the grid. And I will tell you that the difference between first and going back to seventh position is 0.05 of a second out there. That's why you see a bunch of zeros on there, because, well, the speeds, they're pretty tight out there right now, and I expect that to be the case here as we go through the day. So you see Bart Workman getting a little bit loose there under qualifying. How important do you think it is going to be starting up front here tonight, Tanner?
Very. I think track position is going to be another key. I mean, I probably should have wrote that down as my keys of this race today is track position. You want that track position because, as we've seen in past oval races, track position is big time key. It's hard to pass here, and I know I kept on going back to the stock car aspects of stuff, but again, this is open wheel, totally different than stock cars. So I think Jason Galvin, Adam Blocker, Ryan Otis, and Jake Wright, and Bob Mikas will be all in that top 5 area there tonight. They'll be very hard to pass, especially challenge up for the lead up there. Dover's just one of them tricky tracks, man. It's just very, very hard to pass.
Well, here he goes. Scott McClendon now on track. This is a Peak Antifreeze Series driver in iRacing, so you probably have heard the name before, and he's out there. In fact, I believe he was the 2018 Rookie of the Year, so congratulations to him for that honor, and we'll see what kind of times he can put down here in a Lotus 79 at Dover, a track he is familiar with. And first lap isn't the greatest, but I'm seeing a lot of the guys getting out there with their best times being on their second lap. He was fourth on the grid in practice. Here he comes around turns 3 and turns 4. He's going to get into this qualifying session just in time. Only seconds to spare. See where he ends up.
Second.
Nice. Good run for Scott McClendon. He's going to be a force here for tonight. But you know what that does is that's 2 spots right at the beginning of this race that's separating Ryan Otis and Jake Wright from getting maximum points here and either distancing themselves or trying to close the gap. Who's beneficiary? Jason Galvin. And remember, he's won a Lionheart IndyCar race here before, so definitely has some experience. Let's go ahead and go to the grid. We'll call them one row at a time. Starting on pole here tonight, Jason Galvin, only 0.06 of a second behind him, Scott McClendon.
Adam Blocker's going to roll off in the 3rd spot as 4th spot, Mr. Ryan Otis.
Yeah, look at those times, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Wright starting in 5th, Bob Mikas in 3rd, and starting in 6th in row 3.
Big Joe Hazard is going to roll up in 7th in row 4. Good to see Big Joe starting up towards the front again. And Scott Johnson is going to roll off 8th.
And then looking at row 5, it's going to belong to Andrew Kinsella and George Anzaldo.
Our very own Samuel Ryman's going to start outside the top 10 tonight. He's been on a strong suit as of late. He'll be alongside Mr. Joe Branch.
And then row 7 is going to belong to Matthew Mercer and Chris Stouffer.
Pierre Daigle will start in 15th. And he'll start alongside Frank Beezer.
And then Dylan McKenna and Bart Workman are going to make up row 9. Look at those times. We're talking about 20 cars, Tanner, that are separated by less than 0.15 of a second.
And I'm glad everybody's driving the same setup because that is just bad close. But Ed Tutwiler in 19th and Vincent Blumenthal rounding out the top 20.
Coming home in 21st in qualifying, Ron Hacker, followed by James Paulson.
David Altman roll off 23rd. 24th, Brian Greenlee.
Travis Yeagerliner here starting in 25th. Robert Bluen in 26th. And I'll take it from here. We'll make sure that these guys are actually in the session. And it looks like they all are. To round out the field, you're going to have Tony Schoen, Scott Bolster, Mark Amuck, and Rory Collins. That's right, 32 cars rather. Mark Mitchell Moeller and David Cordy for a Lotus 79 race in Dover, Delaware. You have almost as many Lotus 79s on the track right now as you would in, say, a Grand National or truck race here right now, Tanner. This is going to be fun.
A lot of fun. I just wonder if who's going to be patient about a lot of things here. It's a long race, 150 laps here, and you're running about 20 seconds a lap. So, are you going to be patient, or are you going to try to get what you can out of it? It's a tough call. Only these guys out there on the track know the answer to that.
Jason Galvin getting on the radio, reminding everybody it is one pace lap here. This is a mile track. It's only under a mile that you get to. So this is going to go by pretty quick as we're just waiting for that Mustang pace car to pull off. It is in turn 3, 32 Lotus 79s getting ready to get on the loud pedals. And it is going to get loud at this track as with the structures and the grandstands all the way around. It really does radiate the pace car is off. Jason Galvin's on the loud pedal. He gets a great jump over the rest of the field. Scott McClendon's going to have to fight off Adam Blocker here for second, but Scott McClendon's able to get that second position here solidly right off the bat. You can see just how far back that field goes. Not even everybody is across the line. In fact, there's some guys that are already a half lap down, and we're not even through lap 1 yet. Up at the front, Jason Galvin solidly in first place. You can see most everybody already starting to get nose to tail. You have to go all the way back. Now, actually, going into turn 1 here, this next lap, the top 20, all pretty much single file. But we're seeing a few guys, I think already, Tanner, trying to try out just a slightly higher line. How well do you think that's going to work out for him early?
I don't think it's going to work out in an early going unless you can get a lot of guys to run the higher line to get a little groove up there going. And this is dynamic track, so it can open up multiple grooves here. I'm just curious to see how much the track is really going to change as this race goes on. Just watch turns 3, every corner, how dark it's going to get, where all the drivers are running. I'm seeing a lot of drivers run the high line, actually, Adam.
Yeah, it seems like even some of the front runners are kind of running a half line up from the bottom. Now, with as steep as this track is, you definitely don't want to catch the apron. It very well could majorly upset the cars. But you did bring up another thing that could upset the cars in the pre-race show, Tanner, and that was the transition from the bankings to the straights. Even though the straights are banked pretty steep for straightaways, it really can upset the cars here. And sometimes we see that, particularly in some of the stock cars, but we're also seeing it here in the Lotus 79.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going from 24 degrees of banking while going about 175 to 190 miles an hour to 9 degrees of banking. And when you're coming on the exit, it just wants to wash out to that outside wall. It just comes at you just like that, and it can just end your race at a snap of a finger. So, but I am seeing some pretty good battling going on mid-pack here. Brian Greenlee going underneath the STP car. James Paulson here. Some pretty good battles back here in the early stages of this race today.
Yeah, we're back here. There's the likes of Greenlee, Paulson, and Bolster all back there racing for position. These guys really do have to get onto it because as they're coming into turn 4, or coming out of turn 4, Jason Galvin's coming out of turn 2, so these guys are already a half lap behind.
Yeah, and just wait till we reach like another 40 or another maybe like 30 laps. Maybe we'll see some lap traffic come into play. That's how quick you can go a lap down here. Oh, I think a car hit the wall. That may have been Big Joe Hazard, who may have actually tapped it coming off turn 4. He certainly did.
Well, we'll have to see if he ended up with any damage, or at least from my angle here, it looks clean. But we're going to take a look at the GSRC replay, and well, let's see, drifts a little bit high. And he's lucky there. Sometimes when you catch that turn 4 wall, it wants to send you down.
Oh,
we got
caution on the speedway. Yes, sir. Trying to figure out who
car upside down.
Accident. Yep.
That was Tutwiler, Dylan McKenna.
Yep.
And this is exactly what I was talking about. You'll see it here on the GSRC replay. Dylan McKenna gets a little wide, hits that turn 4 wall, and it shoots him down to the inside wall, and he just gets launched. I got to find out who hit him here. Brian Greenlee hit him. And then another car ended up on his lid. Scott Bolster also ended up upside down in that accident.
Man, I tell you what, in these Lotus 79s, I don't think we can document it enough here, Adam. The slightest touch to the outside wall can just end your day just like that.
Dylan McKenna is glad that those are just virtual catch fences at this point, because that would have been a very, very bad deal. Riding on board Dylan McKenna, you're getting ready to go for a crazy ride.
Pit road was open that last time by, and not really seeing anybody hitting the pits. That's how much track position means to all these drivers.
You know, I will say this about Dylan's ride. We'll give him a 7 on the landing. Scott Bolster, though, if we want to go take a look at him, but Dylan, he did not have the greatest landing and ended up on top of his roll bar, and, well, he ended up having to take a tow, and his day is going to be done in that accident there. You see a couple of the back runners and a few of the guys that might have also taken a little bit of damage coming down pit road here, and I think that's about all your takers. I think you're right. I think most everybody's going to stay out. They're going to continue to try to play the fuel strategy game here tonight, Tanner. And that's one thing we heard is, for instance, Samuel Ryman, he was able to win one of the practice races that they run here earlier on in the week, and he did it because of pit strategy and getting out, and it was so hard to pass.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do want to document. According to my notes here that I've received earlier today on fuel, when a caution when a caution comes out, all these drivers staying out, they're saving about 3 laps of fuel, according to the notes that I have received. So that's actually a lot of gas on a mile racetrack like this. So I bet a lot of these front runners are saying, yeah, bring on the cautions because you're giving me more gas saving.
Yeah, and you can Almost seems like if this was a real racetrack, Jason Galvin would be pressuring the pace car to maybe go a little bit faster, so his competitors behind him couldn't save as much gas. But that virtual pace car pretty much doesn't care where Jason Galvin is right now, just as long as he doesn't pass him. So,
yeah. I'd say.
Something just happened to Scott McClendon.
Yeah. What in the world happened right there?
That looks like either a network issue or a wheel issue. He just got on the radio and said something, but I couldn't make it out.
That looked like a hardware wheel failure right there, hardware malfunction right there, because that just took a dead left.
Well, we've seen it before, and unfortunately, hardware failure and hardware disconnects is sometimes the sim racer's version of seeing a tire go flat, or being down a cylinder, or
mechanical failure,
or unfortunately, in Scott McClendon's case, it shot him into the wall. So it looks like at least any kind of competitive chance that Scott had here tonight is going to be done, which is unfortunate. I think a lot of people were looking forward to seeing how he was going to do here in the Lotus 79 tonight. But I tell you who, even though I know they're good guys and they don't want to see a fellow competitor run into trouble like that, they'd rather beat him on a racetrack. But it is good news for the likes of Jake Wright and Ryan Otis, and also Jason Galvin up there in first place, your top three in points, because that's another position they don't have to worry about being taken away from them, and they could potentially get a few more points out of it here at the end of the night.
Man, who is that on the apron down there? They just scared me a little bit, because I thought a similar situation just happened. That was Bob Michaels. He's just riding the apron.
And this is I almost guarantee you this is a little bit of fuel strategy. It's actually, I know we keep bringing up the oval cars, the Gen 6s a lot, but in those stock cars, that's a strategy sometimes to save a little bit of fuel, is to run that apron as low as you can, and I think that's what he's trying to do right now.
Flatter you go, the more gas you can save. I know we're using stock car references, but still, it's under caution, and these guys saved about a good 3 laps of fuel. All right, here we go, Adam. Going back green for the second time today with Jason Galvin on point.
And there goes the pace car, and there goes Jason Galvin. And as these guys start single file, the 30th place car is just now coming out of
trouble,
turn 4.
Bob Michaels, turn 1 and 2, big trouble. Caution is out.
See what happened here to Bob Michaels. Oh, I think that was a little bit of netcode.
He was about to be overtaken. I believe that's Big Joe Hazard.
Yeah, it was Joe Hazard. And look, I mean, there's a half car between them, and then you'll see him just get shot up into the wall.
That is severe netcode right there. I mean, there's plenty of room between the two drivers, Bob Michaels and Big Joe Hazard, down in turn number 1. It was going to be a great move on Big Joe's part, but netcode of iRacing really affected Bob Michaels. Now there's a vicious hit to the outside wall.
Yeah, and Big Joe Hazard saying that he thought his connection was under control, but it doesn't look like it is. So it sounds like he's going to be parking it for the night as well. And so that accident ends up claiming another 2 drivers. At this point, it looks like we are only going to have 25 cars on the lead lap when we come back to racing. And speaking of coming back, well, we're going to take a quick break here on GSRC, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, so with us getting ready to go back to green, we're rolling down the back straightaway here on the final lap of caution for this particular caution. I want to point out Bob Mikus. That just took away a two-time winner on ovals here this season, and then Joe Hassert had 6 top 10s going into this race, which is also the most on ovals here for the season. So 2 guys that could have very well been a factor at the end of this race, unfortunately now out of it, including Dylan McKenna, who's been on a hot streak lately here. He was involved in that last accident. But now we're getting ready to go back to green. Jason Galvin on the loud pedal. He is away. I always like to call him my fellow newsman, and he is making news here tonight by being really, really quick and getting out there ahead of Adam Blocker. Adam Blocker settling into second position, followed closely by Jake Wright, who is himself followed closely by Ryan Otis. That is your top 4 as everybody at least gets through the back straightaway for the most part clean here. You're starting to see the difference in lines. Tanner?
Yeah, Scott from Scott A. Johnson back is the Hornets' Nest of attempting to pass.
Speaking of Hornets' Nest, I think that's Samuel Ryman back there that's got himself involved in a little Hornets' Nest.
Yeah, he's right behind Scott Johnson here, and he's so far run silent in the top 10. Speaking of another Hornets' Nest, Chris Stouffer going underneath league organizer George Gonzalo for a spot on track. And there's actually passing a little bit everywhere here where we have Matthew Mercer, who just got by Pierre Daigle. Now he's about being pressured by Bart Workman. A lot of activity going on here. This is probably from 7th on back. A little bit further, 9th on back.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here at this point. So, a lot of guys trying to take advantage of that restart. The problem with that, though, is, Tanner, one thing we've been talking about here is, particularly in the DW12, in the modern IndyCar, aero wash is usually a problem, and I really haven't experienced it too much in these Lotus 79s. I mean, it's there, but it's not too bad until I tried driving in a practice session with these guys earlier on today, and it's a massive concern here.
It definitely is, and it's something you really have to manage as a driver out there, because if you have aero push, especially on entrance, and you watch the track, taking advantage of someone else's mistakes is big key for track position on the speedway, which I documented at the keys of the race today. But a driver that I see is kind of slipping back a little bit here, who actually had a strong restart, is Pierre Daigle. He's backed up 12th place right now, about to be being pressured by Bart Workman. Actually, there's a Hornets Nest way in the back of the pack here between 3 drivers, Frank Beezer, Brian Greenlee, and James Paulson.
Well, we are only on lap 25. It is entirely possible that they've saved enough fuel now to go 75 laps on a tank of gas. And if that's the case, we're only a third of the way through this fuel stint now. And it's about the time the car starts getting light, and I think it's about the time that those transitions are going to start becoming a problem. What do you see, Tanner?
Almost close quarters contact between Brian Greenlee, who almost slammed the door, but James Paulson was there to get underneath him. Right now, Greenlee high above the racetrack, not going to work. Actually, he might get a nice run-off corner exit off of turn number 2, down into turn number 3. Still a pretty big battle back here for 16th spot.
And that's one of the bigger battles on the racetrack right now, is side-by-side action there between Greenlee and Paulson. And seeing who ends up coming out on top of that one, I think it might ultimately be Paulson there in that STP colored machine heading into turn 3. So Paulson, Greenlee for 16th and 17th now, and then Travis Jagerliner. I think Travis Jagerliner is just kind of back there, just kind of biding his time. But you can see how much those guys have all gained here since the start of this race. So definitely some movers in the middle part of the pack right now.
Yeah, that was the only side-by-side battle on the racetrack. Everybody else has kind of fanned out just a little bit. The race leader of Jason Galvin has put on a 7/10 of a race lead over Adam Blocker. And then you got to find Jake Wright, who's about a second and a half behind the race leader. So everybody spreading out just a little bit, trying different lines on the racetrack. What is working, what is not working. Not really seeing any more side-by-side battles. If anything, we might see one between Altman, who actually looked like Mark Amick had a back off of David Altman there. But otherwise, nothing too much going on track right now. Everybody buying their time, trying to get some laps on these tires, laps on this fuel run, just to see what they can do for strategy. I mean, they're already thinking strategy right now as you run out there.
Yeah, and I think these guys have been thinking about strategy here since pretty much the drop of the green flag. So as of right now, we got 24 cars on the lead lap. It looks like we have lost a total of 7 cars here, 8 cars due to accidents since the beginning of this race. And we started with a field of 32 out there here for tonight. And, well, at this point, I'm not really seeing any other battles out there. It's just a tough place to try to pass. You're going to have to take real advantage of those restarts like you saw a couple of guys do right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. And we did see earlier with Big Joe Hazard trying to take advantage of the restarts, but Netcode played that strategy all up. But, I mean, everything is possible on the restarts. Got to take advantage of what you can out here, especially if someone makes a mistake on the racetrack, which we already have seen. But kind of looking through the field here, seeing if there's any big movers. So, we got a car on the wall. That was Vincent Blumenthal. He did hit the wall coming off turn number 4. Got really loose, but held on to her. So far remains in this position of 14th.
And that's going to be something I think you're going to see more and more here as we go deeper into this field run. We're going to ride on board now with Vincent. In turn 4, that turn 4 wall sneaks up and grabs another one, except this time that car was able to save it from flying off into the inside wall, which is, Tanner, I think you've raced here before in a multitude of cars. Easier said than done.
Yeah, most definitely. I tell you what, talk about getting sideways to avoid the wall. Adam Blocker just did it off turn number 4 last time by. So very nice drive by Adam Blocker, but absolutely. Well, no matter what you're driving on an iRacing simulator and you're going to go to Dover, you got to watch out for the turn 2 and turn 4 wall. I've been a victim of it in everything I have driven at Dover, and I always say, man, Miles the Monster got me.
I remember watching a race here in, I think it was 1994 or 95. It was the year before they went to concrete at this place. It was still asphalt. And I remember John Andretti in the old Kmart Little Caesars car got into an accident in turn 4, and the next thing you know, the entire track was just blocked.
Oh, yeah, that was just, that was very devastating wreck. I mean, I've seen devastating wrecks in NASCAR before, but man, that was a nasty one.
Well, and our director Joe Peak letting him know that he has a John Andretti tire actually there in his office from when John Andretti's NASCAR days. So that's a cool little novelty piece. I wish I had.
Mr. Joe Peak, we'll have to negotiate later.
Well, there we are, still running nose to tail. We are almost a third of the way into the race. These guys will be starting to think about pit stops here in about 30 laps, but I have a feeling that these tires obviously are going to be starting to degrade here a little bit as well, as I think Robert Bluen has decided to call it a day here also here in the last couple of laps. All right, so why don't we work our way through the field here real quick, just to give an update of everybody that's on the lead lap here. We've got 23 cars, so we'll be pretty quick about it. First up, of course, your leader, Jason Galvin. He started on the pole here tonight. He is proving that it is hard to pass here. In fact, he's starting to run away a little bit from second place Adam Blocker. So Jason Galvin showing he has what it takes here for tonight. Speaking of Adam Blocker, hey, he started third. He's been able to stay out of trouble and is now about 0.7 of a second back behind your leader, Jason Galvin. So he's up one spot from where he started. Another guy that's up a couple of spots is Jake Wright, running in third. He started in 5th here today and now is running about 2.6 seconds behind the leader. Behind him is the closest competitor in points, Ryan Otis. Ryan started in 4th. He's currently running 4th in an old Marlboro machine, and he is also about 5 seconds now behind your leader, Jason Galvin. But right behind him and trying to chase him down, the old Miss Budweiser. Yes, I always compare this car to the Miss Budweiser hydroplane just because I think it kind of looks like an old hydroplane. That's Andrew Kinsella out there about now. He is 0.3 of a second behind Ryan Otis. So we'll have to watch that battle if it ends up maturing into something here over the next few minutes. Behind these guys, Scott Johnson. Scott Johnson, 6.5 seconds behind your leader here for tonight. Scott Johnson up 2 spots from where he started here. Running a very quiet race out there so far. Samuel Ryman, our very own Sammy Ryman, running that GSRC machine. He is running in 7th. He is up 4 spots from where he started. Oh, and he won one of the practice races here earlier on this week. So if pit strategy comes into play, he's going to be one guy to keep an eye on. We got a caution on the speedway.
Ryan Greenlee, who was currently running back in the 17th spot on track, was in the opposite direction in turns 1 and 2. He actually got loose down on entrance and could not save it.
He's the first guy that we've seen to lose the car going into a corner like that. So it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on here.
And a driver that almost like annihilated Greenlee was Mark Amick. Almost tagged him there. It could have been bigger, but it didn't.
Wide board here with Mark Amick, and see what he saw. I have a feeling you're getting ready to see an eyeful of a Miller Genuine Draft L79 here.
Ooh, ever so close, ever so fast.
So he is thankful that his race was able to continue, and Brian Greenlee's race is able to continue as well, even though he is 1 lap down now. But here we go.
Ding, ding, ding,
finally,
ding.
Some pit stops. Is Jason Galvin's going to lead him down? I think the only car that's staying out right now is Brian Greenlee, and that is because he is 1 lap down. He might try to strategy play here to get his lap back. We'll have to see.
2 cars staying out. That would be David Altman and Mitchell Moeller deep in the field.
Oh, we'll have to see if that's a strategy call or a mistake or something else. But everybody hits their marks pretty cleanly, actually. I didn't see anybody not. But Jason Galvin's able to get off first, followed by, looks like Adam Blocker, and then behind him, Jake C. Wright. So no major changes in position in the top 5 of this field after pit stops. With that, well, we're going to go ahead and take just a very quick break as we'll cycle out and tell you where everybody's at here when we come back. Well, welcome back here to the race for the Cure 150 at Dover Speedway by the Lionheart Retro Series. And Joe Peak was telling us a little bit more about how he got his tire. He got it at 1998 in Watkins Glen. And I only bring it up again because I saw some of you guys talking about John Andretti in chat. So there you go, 1998 Watkins Glen, and I won't tell you for the price that he got it for, but it was a steal. All right, so we're getting ready to go back to green. David Altman's taking a chance. He's going to go ahead and stay out. He's going to see what he can do and just how difficult it is to pass here. He's going to start P1. Well, we brought him down really slow, and he's on the loud pedal. He is away, and he's actually got himself a pretty decent jump on Jason Galvin. But what are those older tires going to do here? Is they're going to be able to do anything with the rest of the field? I have a feeling we're about to find out, as everybody else is now away. I think it's going to be a part 2 where we start to find out, Tanner, just how big of a role the aero wash is going to play here at the top part of the field.
Track position and clean air is what's keeping David Altman up front. And I'm not really seeing a big goal gain on Jason Galvin. So I guess that kind of tells me throw the tires out the window. Tires ain't meaning much. That clean air means a lot. That first side-by-side battle back here for, I believe, a top 4 spot is going to be between Andrew Kinsella going underneath Jake Wright. That's a good textbook pass right there, and almost contact with the outside. Well goes Kinsella. So Jake Wright's going to take advantage of that on the inside row through turns 1 and 2. He did clip it with the right rear, with the right tire head. Really.
Well, just be glad you can't get a flat tire from wall contact here, but you can bend your suspension, so he's going to have to be careful a little bit, make sure nothing did get bent. Just a side-by-side battle still between those two, so that's not going to let up here anytime soon. Meanwhile, David Altman, I think, is still separating himself here at the front part of the field. And one thing we were talking about, Tanner, if he can get to... caution on the speedway.
Another caution on the track right now, trying to figure out who that was.
Travis Jagerliner.
Jagerliner, backstretch.
And I can't tell if it was netcode or if the back end just broke loose. Maybe a little bit of netcode.
It looked like the back end just came loose, and he got a car on the inside of him.
Yeah, and that was the orange, but Tony Schoen is out there, and that's unfortunate for him. Of course, we've seen him have some good runs here this year. He's kind of having a quiet day, but his day is now pretty much going to be done. Significant damage in his car.
Pretty good heads-up display by Rory Collins in the back of the field. See the onboard right here. I mean, it's going to happen right in front of you here. This is going to be coming off turn number 2. And usually when you get your car settled coming off the edge of the corner, you stick with it right here. Ooh, that was really close.
That is definitely a little bit close out there. So, unfortunate for both those guys. Is like I said, they were having some. They were having quiet runs. I mean, they weren't having the bang up kind of. We're going to be talking about them every 2 laps kind of runs, but they had been quiet up until that point, and I think that their day is going to be done for the most part. Now, David Altman is staying out there. And we did see a comment in chat about the lighter fuel helping David Altman, and it's our understanding that the tire wear is significant enough here that kind of starts to even out a little bit of that fuel advantage. Maybe not all that much, but a little bit of the fuel advantage. And David Altman definitely has the oldest tires in the field right now, as there is some wear on those tires here at Dover. The concrete just chewing them up, from what we're being told. So David Altman, you're right though. This is definitely track position play, and what we were trying to get at is that if we've had enough cautions now, he might be able to push it to lap 75 and then come in, but then he has to have a little bit more help to be able to go the rest of the way. But if he can go on 1 stop compared to everybody else now having to take for sure 2 stops, that could definitely change his luck here today.
I don't think tires is really too much of a big deal, because as of right now, I mean, you're talking about, 38 laps of a tire difference between Altman and Galvin and the rest of the field. That's 38 laps on tires, and as you said, it does choose up the tires on concrete, but Altman is like, no, tires ain't meaning a lot. It's the clean air, and it's the track position that's going to mean a lot here. That's what Altman is saying. And
yeah, it being a little bit lighter on fuel. So what I was saying is that it's just kind of even it out between the two. So, but Altman's definitely got himself a fast machine right now.
Definitely does. So hopefully he can pick up some more of these cautions to keep him out front like that. But eventually he will have to pit, and I think he'll have to pit long before everybody else will have to pit. So he may lose that track position, but if he continues on the strategy he's playing, he can probably gain that back. I mean, right now it's just fuel saving under these cautions.
Well, I will say one guy that was happy to see that caution was Brian Greenlee. We saw his spin a little bit earlier on, and he was able to get back on the lead lap because of that, of staying out on the last cycle. But he was doing it very much in old equipment and off cycle from everybody else. And that right there, that caution allowed him to come in and maybe just be able to get the fresh tires, get everything back to being fresh, his car back squared away. So now he is, of course, in 21st position, but we know he has a fast machine. He was 12th in the practice session before this race. We'll see if we get the one to go here this next time by. Remember, they are starting single file here today, so it is a long train of cars, even still with just only 21 cars on the lead lap.
Liked what David Altman did on that last restart. Kind of bring him down slow and then get that big jump to gain that advantage. I like what he did. Hopefully he does it again here to keep that. If not, Galvin's going to be on his tail.
Well, there we go. The lights are off on the pace car. We're going to be coming around. Actually, the lights have been off the pace car a little bit. I am still running in replay. And Joe hates me when I do that, but it happens. So we are getting ready to come down into turn 3, not turn 1 like I thought. Wow, I almost missed the restart here. David Altman running in first, Jason Galvin in second, and Adam Blocker in third. That's your top 3. Well, I wonder if David Altman, I'm going to bet money he's going to slow him way down again before he goes. Indeed, that is the case. He's waiting for the right moment. And there he goes. He punches the throttle, and he's able to get that good jump on Jason Galvin, but not as good of a jump as he got last time. I think Jason was pretty much ready for it this time. And now your top 5, all pretty much running single file, nose to tail, with nobody making any real moves here just yet. But here comes a good run for the lead. Jason Galvin out of turn 2 had that great run down the back straightaway, and he is free and clear of David Altman. And David Altman's already going to have to fight off the likes of Adam Blocker and Andrew Kinsella, but Andrew Kinsella is going to have to fight off Jake Wright first. Jake Wright sticks his nose in there. Caution on the speedway.
Wow, that was huge right there, but the caution is out on the speedway. I think it's for the back of the pack.
Yeah, Mark Amuck and Frank Beezer making contact in the back.
Oh, I think he's crab walking. Amuck is.
Yeah, Mark Amuck got into the inside wall extremely hard. We're looking at maybe a little bit of something here with Mitchell Muller. So we actually had 2 incidents here. Looking at Mitchell Muller flipping it. Oh, this was well after the caution here. Looking at this.
Yeah, I think the real caution flag was between Beezer and Amuck.
Yeah, it was between Beezer and Amuck, but that Mitchell Muller flip was almost a half track away, and it was involving Frank Beezer again. So that was trying to catch back up to the pace car. We're going to ride on board here with Frank Beezer. Let's see what he saw. And we'll see the contact between the two. And just, whew, you don't get much more sideways in a Lotus 79 and able to pull that thing back straight than what Frank Beezer did. Continue riding on board with him here. Sorry about that. I wanted to see that Mitchell Muller contact, but we'll have to hold off on that one here for right now. But those guys, that's another 3 cars that have ran into trouble here tonight, and unfortunately look like are probably going to be out of this race. So that's going to leave us potentially only 18 cars on the lead lap here. If Frank Beezer does indeed go a lap down, we'll wait and see on that one. Everybody's staying out, including David Altman. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come back here in just a moment. And we're back in. This time our only off-camera conversation this time was Tanner's opinion of the Hendrick cars, and we'll save that for later for 2018. Hey, just got to call out my buddy here. Hey, all right, lights off on the pace car. Jason Galvin right now running in first position. Once again, David Altman did decide to come down pit road, so that's going to shuffle him down to 19th. So your top four as we go back, Galvin, Blocker, Kinsella, and Wright. Hey, before we go back to green, I want to give a quick shout-out to a series regular I do not see here on the grid, our very own Candyman, Dustin Wardlow, did not make the show here for tonight. Hope you're doing well out there, buddy. Hopefully you're able to watch. And going back to green, pace car is off. Jason Galvin slowing him up, and he's away as soon as Adam Blocker got up to his rear tire. So he gets a pretty good jump out there, as well as Andrew Kinsella being able to at least take a look at Adam Blocker, but not going to be able to do anything with it here as they go off into 1 and 2. Coming out of 2, I think Adam Blocker got just a touch loose there, but he's able to pull it back, going straight, and does not lose a position. In fact, I really don't think he lost any time at all to Andrew Kinsella back there in my Miss Budweiser machine.
Yeah, he certainly did not, but that restart kind of cost him to the race lead a little bit, which really, Andrew Kinsella, Jake Wright and them boys back here, these cats really reeled him in, but nothing produced for a passing zone just yet. But if another mistake does happen later in the stage of the race, you can bet your bottom dollar that someone's going to take advantage of it for sure. But not really seeing any real side-by-side battles on track right now. Everybody else single file right now, taking it easy as the race goes on.
Yeah, taking it easy seems to be the way to do things, even though Adam Blocker just trying to get a hint of clean air out there behind Jason Galvin.
Yeah,
I think that was Ryan Otis maybe I saw get loose.
Just a little bit, trying to, yeah, he just got just a tick loose. Actually, he had a huge run. He had to check up. Looked like he did not want to make contact with Jake Wright. So he just checked up just a little bit to go to the inside of just to make sure he didn't hit him. Everybody else seems pretty solid.
Yeah, we're back to single file racing for the most part. I am starting to see a little black there higher in the track. Go back over to James Paulson now. James Paulson making a look on the inside of Vincent Blumenthal. You know, that's the other version of the commentator's curse, where you curse yourself. The second you say they're single file, somebody wants to step out and make a pass, and that's okay. James Paulson continues to steal another position. Paulson, I think he might be our big mover here so far today. He started in 22nd, so he's up 10 spots from the start of this race.
Yeah, I think the biggest mover since the drop of the green flag, a little further back at him, Rory Collins.
Oh, yeah, Rory Collins,
yeah,
15 spots.
Yes, sir. So a lot of guys in the back of the pack who've really taken it easy are starting to make their presence felt on cracking the top 15, and it's only lap 72 out of 150. So a little ways to go yet. Let's see what happens when we get closer to the end of the race.
And we got some word in chat that Dustin Wardlow, I think he had to rebuild his PC and didn't get everything back together in time. So unfortunately wasn't able to make the start here for tonight. But at least he is at least well, and just want to say hi once again to Dustin Wardlow, of course, a big supporter of the Lionheart series here on iRacing. Jason, looking right now, there's George Zaldo.
Frank Beezer almost wrecked it off turn number 4, unless he was just trying to pull it to try to make a pass in the back of the pack back there. That would have been under Brian Greenlee, but nothing produced between those two drivers.
Yeah, and all that strategy play that I think David Altman was trying to do would have just gone up and spoke completely right there for a second. We need to take a look. Did something? Samuel Ryman seems to have fallen off the pace just a little bit. I need to go back and see if something happened to him here the last couple of laps.
Not seeing really any damage on Samuel Ryman, but he was 19th on that restart. That I can really confirm. But he pitted. He pitted.
Yeah, I think this is a strategy play by Samuel, and just trying to get away from everybody and can't miss any kind of accidents. I think he knows something everybody else doesn't. So we'll have to keep an eye on him as the rest of the race goes along. But meanwhile, your front is very much separated here with Jason Galvin now up past 5.6 of a second up on Adam Blocker, and Andrew Kinsella 1.2 seconds behind your leader right now. So that your top three separated by a good little bit. And I'll say it once again in the hopes of maybe sparking a side-by-side battle. Everybody looks like they're running nose to tail. Yeah, and it worked. Rory Collins is going to try to take another spot from Vincent Blumenthal here. Unable to get the run here going down the back straightaway. So Rory Collins was looking for spot 16.
Oh, Paulson. Go, got a spot on track.
Another spot from Paulson as he's going to go ahead and get around Matthew Mercer there.
Yeah, Paulson's looking really good as far as picking up track position and being able to make a pass on somebody, because right now he's in 11th. He's got one spot to go. There's Pierre Daigle just ahead of him, a little bit ways back, about 6/10 of a second ahead of him. And that would be for a top 10 spot on track.
Collins trying to do something once again here on Vincent Blumenthal. Is able to stay side by side with him going through 1 and 2. Vincent Blumenthal sticks his sideways just a touch going off 2, and I think it was just enough to give Rory Collins the edge going down the back straightaway. Is he going to clear him here coming out of 4? He does. Give 14th position now to Rory Collins. It's 16 spots since the start of the green flag on a track that is very hard to pass on here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rory Collins is really getting done. Both Rory Collins and James Paulson have been trying to get it done under green flag conditions as far as trying to make a pass on somebody. Haven't really seen so much of that in the top 10 today, Adam, which is very seldom on an oval racing racetrack, no matter what you're driving. So far, pretty much all of them are just spread out, though.
Well, and that could mean some long green flag runs here to wrap up the day. And we started this race with 32 cars out there. We've got 20 left. Robert Bluen has come back on track. So we have 20 cars out there with 19 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, pretty good size. A lot of cars still yet on the lead lap right now. Just curious to see how fuel strategy or the pit strategy is going to work, because the way I have it documented, Altman and Reinman are pretty much in the same boat as far as their pit stops are concerned. I'm really curious what those two drivers are really going to make up if we continue to have a long green flag run. Beezer on Greenlee there. Now, Beezer was working on Greenlee for a couple of laps, and Greenlee wasn't going to have really anything of it. But Beezer, yeah, he really took advantage that time and got by Greenlee. Greenlee looks like he's a little bit in trouble because right now he's falling into the clutches of David Altman.
And that is the battle on the racetrack right now that you have there on your screen. Everybody else just kind of separated out just a little bit, which is amazing considering, in fact, we started with 32 cars and, well, we weren't so spread out then, that's for sure, as the field is kind of narrowed. Also, going back here, looks like David Altman now going to try to make a pass here on Brian Greenlee. You got that on your screen. Is David Altman once again has himself a fast car, but you can see that it's just hard to get around people.
It just is, and that's really just the nature of this racetrack. But it can be done, though, Adam.
That was awfully close by David Altman, getting up there and almost into the wall, but I think he was able to stay out of it.
Yeah, just that's been another document story today, is getting into the outside wall. Usually we've seen so much of it out of turn 4 today, then turn 2. Usually all of our turn 2 wrecks today, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, had just been contact between two drivers. Turn 4 has been contact with the wall. Very different. Samuel Ryman on Altman, Altman, man, fishtailing it off of turn number 2. And he falls into the clutches of Ryman. Ryman really can't do anything with it. That was close.
Well, and I feel that's going to start seeing a little bit more close calls like that here as the run goes along. After that, I think that close call with the wall a few minutes ago, I think maybe David just needs to kind of settle down, get back in his groove a little bit, or more and more of that's going to keep happening to him as you can see him now starting to pull away just a little bit from Samuel Ryman. Back up front, Jason Galvin now up to a 0.6 of a second lead against Adam Blocker. That lead has been pretty stable here the last couple laps. These guys are running for the most part near identical lap times. You can see only about 100th of a second separating their lap times, at least the last lap, and that difference between the two not really gaining or losing. But Andrew Kinsella behind them is actually gained about 1/10 of a second from the last time that I saw, but still not able to get any kind of appreciable amount just yet. And keep in mind, that's been over the span of about 20 laps there since the last time I looked at that interval. So, yeah, these guys pretty well spread out amongst the pack. And we're getting ready to hit 100 laps to go here in just a few minutes, and that very well could start opening up the door to some of the pit strategy stuff that we've been talking about. And one consideration that they're going to have to make here, Tanner, is what's the possibility that we're going to go caution-free here the rest of the way now that everybody's kind of spread out a little bit?
So far, it's looking a pretty good possibility, but I wouldn't get my hopes up just yet. We have seen drivers get loose on entrance on these long green flag runs here, Adam. So that's something to watch out for as this run goes on, because these cars get really light, and you go in such a high rate of speed, and just step out on it because you're kind of using the brake just a little bit to try to get the car settled. But so far, it's looking a pretty high chance for a long green flag run. And now my question is if we do get that long green flag run, how much of a benefit will that be between Altman and Ryman? Because if we do get green flag runs and those two drivers stay out, you're putting drivers a lap down. And if you get a caution, that pins drivers a lap down. But Matthew Mercer is having a huge, horrible connection right now. Might be a not netcode, but a connection to the server problem right now. Kind of see here. What is his information? But right now, I have not seen him back on track.
Now you got a caution on the speedway.
Oh boy!
Oh, Andrew Kinsella, your third place driver.
He was run so well.
Got loose coming out of 4, went down and slapped the inside wall.
Yeah, he was run so well too. Had a tremendous run at Iowa 2 weeks ago. Led 90 laps, but he had to settle for a 13th place finish. And today he was set up for another, at least a consistent finish to get his best finish on the season on the oval side, and it will not happen today.
You know, and we're riding on board with him now, and this seems like a lot of what we've been talking about here tonight. It's that transition going from that 24 degrees of banking to that 9 degrees of banking in the straightaway. It's a very rough transition. The car gets light, and, well, you can see what it did to Andrew Kinsella. It's kind of away she goes, and I bet it kind of felt like a top fuel hydroplane there for a moment.
And they're not. People aren't lying when they say Dover's kind of like a roller coaster ride. There's some people that have the machines where your seat's moving around when you're doing iRacing. They say Dover's a roller coaster ride just because of the way the track is.
And we're seeing that, but now we're going to go ahead and have another round of pit stops, and these guys can go the rest of the way from here. Jason Galvin leading them down. You're going to want to go ahead and watch this. Are we going to have a battle off pit road? If I was Adam Blocker, I would be right up on that rear wing if I could and try to close that distance. And he's going to be stopping his stall. Everybody stops in their stalls clean. Who's going to be the first one away? Look at Jake Wright. Oh, not able to get Adam Blocker. So where you're going to stay, Galvin 1, Blocker 2, Wright 3. As we're going to go ahead and also take a break here on GSRC. We're going to be right back, and we'll bring you to the end of this one. we have a little bit of strategy trying to play out here. We'll see how well it works out. David Altman and Samuel Ryman staying out. They're on the same pit strategy here. And so David Altman's going to lead them to the green coming up here in just a little bit. Now behind them is Galvin, Blocker, and Wright, who won that race off pit road. And a minute ago on the side-by-side there, you might have saw Robert Bluen get one of his 25 laps down back. So he is slowly but surely getting back there, but I don't think we're going to have 25 more cautions for you there, Robert, unfortunately. So getting ready to come back to green. Pace car is off. David Altman's slowing him up, but he's going to get on the lap pedal a little bit earlier than what he was when he was leading those restarts a little bit earlier on. And here we go. I think we're about down to 47 laps to go here to round this race for the Kier 150 out. Let's see, Samuel Ryman so far holding off Jason Galvin back there, but I think that entire group right there actually had a halfway decent run on David Altman as Samuel Ryman's looking pretty big in David Altman's rearview mirror right now.
He definitely is. It's just a matter if he's going to get him. He's going to run the better line, in the corners. I really thought Samuel Ryman was going to fall into the clutches of these drivers back here from Jason Galvin on back due to the restart and the position that he was in, but he's able to pull a little ways on Jason Galvin just fine right now. So the top two settling nicely there. Car, I thought got loose, did not. It was this guy going on the inside. Chris Stouffer back here going on the inside of the 28 machine of Joe Branch. It was like the only side-by-side battle I had seen that was going to happen. But it is all David Altman out front, right ahead of Samuel Ryman. Two drivers sitting on a strategy call here. Can they get it done today? I have no idea. I'm not the crew chief, but so far it's working out in their favor, keeping them guys out front. Looks like Adam Blocker wants to get around Jason Galvin, but it doesn't have anywhere to really take it right now. Getting on that left side tires on the apron just a little bit. Don't want to do that because that'll loosen up the car.
It is, if my numbers are right, I do believe that both Altman and Ryman are both going to have to come back in at some point, unless they know something I don't. So we'll see, though. There has to be a reason that they stayed out there, and right now they certainly have the pace. I think Jake Wright Adam Blocker got really close to that wall there coming out of 4 this last time by. You can see he lost a lot of ground to Galvin and is now really having to fight off Jake Wright.
Yeah. Did he hit the wall or no? I don't think he hit the wall.
And if he didn't, it was awfully close. Going back and watching it here on my end. Yeah, he did get into the wall a little bit. So we're going to have to watch out for the health of Adam Blocker's car, but so far it seems to have stabilized, and he's pulling back out in front of Jake Wright as Jake Wright was not able to take that position for him with that wall contact. So right now your top 5 is Altman, Ryman, Galvin, Blocker, and Jake Wright. That's your top 5, and Ryan Otis just right underneath the rear wing of Jake Wright, looking to try to get in front of him and at least come away at least a little bit with some form of points advantage after everything is said and done here for tonight. I think that's one thing's for sure for Ryan Otis to have a shot at this championship here, Tanner. He's got to finish ahead of Jake Wright every single chance he gets. Adam Blocker was really slow there coming out of 2 again.
Tell you what, the top 2 drivers, if my calculations are correct, and I do got the calculator out, I'm kind of doing the math here, you're talking 89 laps if we do go green here for the top 2 drivers. I don't think that's possible.
No, I think we'd have to run almost the entire field stint under yellow for the most part for that to happen, and we definitely had some long green flag runs. So, yeah, those guys are going to have to come in at some point. I'm thinking that they're hoping more for maybe a yellow closer to the end of the run here and seeing what happens. So it looks like Ryan Otis. He's taking a look now at Jake Wright.
Yeah, and this is pretty cool for Ryan Otis, but he got really loose off turn number 4 again, so can't benefit on doing that. But realistically, Otis just needs something bad happen to Jake Wright here, but I don't think it's going to happen. Jake Wright tremendous driver and all, but he's usually a driver in this Lionheart series, actually in the entire league, who has very few mistakes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is historically been one of the cleanest drivers here this season. So, all right.
Oh, caution. And this is good for the top 2 drivers.
Pierre Daigle. See what happened to him. Hit that turn 4 wall and went down for a trip on the front stretch. And one guy that also almost went for a trip was Frank Beezer back there as well. So we're going to want to ride on board with him here in just a second. Is not only did he have to miss the spinning car there, Pierre Daigle, he had to miss the checking up car of Bart Workman.
That
See it coming off
close.
4. And Bart Workman's right over his helmet. He has to take evasive action for him and then take evasive action for the spinning car of Pierre Daigle.
Well, this caution lapse right here helps David Altman and Samuel Ryman, and I have to imagine they are going to stay out, and they will. So it's going to help them out, but will it get them to the end? That's just the main question.
I riding on board with him, and I don't hear him clutching or anything else. So I think they know that they've got to come down pit road again, and I think they're just biding their time until they do it at this point. But I don't know. We'll see. We got 34 laps to go here until the end of this thing, so we're going to have our answers pretty quick. If we can get going green, once the green flag comes out, the race should only take about another 15 minutes. So answers will come fast and quick, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got my calculator out, and yeah, it's still showing that pretty much the same answer, but obviously it's a little less now with the laps winding down. They're hanging on the bottom to it, and I tell you what, they better get on the apron to save as much gas as possible because they played their cards. This is the cards they have to play from here on out. It's go home, it's go broke, or go big or go home. So.
Did you just mess up? Go big or go
I
home?
Totally just messed that up. I have not said that in such a long time. Oh, Lord. But I tell you what, this is a cool strategy call right here. It's just a matter of, is it going to work for these guys? I mean, Galvin's even on the apron, for goodness sakes. And I bet he's trying to get side by side saying, you ain't getting on the apron anymore, buddy.
He's got to be careful. I think he beat Ryman to the line that time on accident. He did. You got to make sure you don't get a passing under the yellow penalty there.
Surprised he didn't get a black flag for that, because I'm sure if he would have got a black flag, he would have been on the radio at the race officials.
Well, we're still waiting for the pace car lights to go out. You're going to do at least another lap and a half here under yellow. So I'm betting we'll come back to green with 31 to go. And
Somebody asked
16 cars now in the lead lap.
Somebody asked me one time, Tanner, why do you on a restart of an IndyCar race, or the Lotus Lionheart Retro Series, why do the drivers always start so close to the outside wall when they're single file? Well, sometimes if you make a mistake, a driver can go around you on the outside, and iRacing will not black flag you. But if they go around you on the inside row and they beat you to the line, they can get the black flag. So that's just one way on guarding your position on the racetrack, and that's just a form of strategy too. So that's something to be careful of, because we've almost had some close calls here today as well. But I believe we got the 1-to-go signal.
We do, and if I can ask our director here real quick, can you pop back on that top 10 for me real quick? One thing I want to point out on that top 10 is who's sneaking his way into the top 10 here right now. You got to look way down there in 10th spot. That's George Anzaldo, and he's looking for his third top 10 finish in a row, and he's trying to make a play on the top 10 in points here from pretty deep in the field. So George Anzaldo being able to make a little bit of a run here in the tail end of the season. He started 10th here tonight. And of course, he's kind of found himself up and down in the field, but so far able to maintain that top 10 spot. All right, pace car is now in turn 3, going underneath the bridge right there. Your top 5 when we come back is Altman, Ryman, Galvin, Blocker, and Wright. We'll just wait here, and I think that pace car, there it goes, it's pulling off. Jake Wright really slows him down. Selma Ryman has to take evasive action, and they're away now. It doesn't hit, even that didn't get him a good jump, but we're seeing lots of guys moving around toward the back. Looks like Jason Galvin's going to try to make a move underneath Selma Ryman. Is Adam Blocker going to be able to follow him? Well, he also has a run here on David Altman. David Altman's going to have to fend off Jason Galvin for the lead, and he's not going to be able to do it. Move Jason Galvin back to P1 at 170 miles an hour around Dover.
Yeah, that pretty much ended the call and strategy for a race win on David Altman. But I tell you what, he still has a chance to go for at least a top 5 spot. It's just a matter of how much fuel does he have left in that tank. Ryan Otis going underneath Jake Wright for position on track for a top 5 spot right now. Side by side, coming off turn number 4, getting a little loosey-goosey there. A driver that really made the aggressive move on that restart that was way towards on the inside was Chris Stouffer. He's back there in 7th spot.
We've seen Stouffer make some moves in some of these oval races here for this year, but we've really got to focus on that Wright and Otis battle, as that has huge championship implications, as Jake Wright got awfully close to that wall this last time, but he did not hit it and was able to keep and carry his momentum, is now able to kind of seal away that spot, at least for the time being, from Ryan Otis. But Ryan Otis is starting to show that, man, I want that spot. I want those points. Give me those points, Mr. Wright. Unfortunately, Mr. Wright right now is saying no, sir. So once again, up front, Galvin is retaking P1. Altman now sitting in P2, and behind them is Blocker, Ryman, and Jake Wright. And here comes Ryan Otis once again, trying to make that move. He's able to get the nose out in front of Jake Wright this last time here, coming out of 4, but cannot carry the momentum coming off the corners. At least this time, he's able to maintain side by side with them. Is Jake Wright getting awfully close to those turn 2 and turn 4 walls, doing his best to pull away from Ryan Otis, but Ryan Otis just will not go away. He gets another nose out there. Jake Wright still beats him back to the line here this last time. It seems like Ryan Otis is making the pass, but it's happening only inches at a time here, Tanner.
Man, Otis just like, man, I can get you, man, I can get you, but Jake Wright just shows that great speed on corner exit, and I mean, he just sucks up to Otis, and actually Otis is finally going to get him right now, so that would be a battle for that top 5 spot. So if it would end right here, that would have been a top 5 finish for Ryan Otis. Looks like Jake Wright kind of falling back just a little bit from Otis, going to fall into the clutches of Chris Stouffer here, so hopefully it doesn't go any further back.
And one thing I want to point out, the difference between 4th and 5th in this race is 2 points. Now, there's 71 points between them. You don't think that 2 points can matter very much, but don't forget our 3rd and final race out of this little oval stretch here, in the last race of the season, is coming up at Auto Club Speedway in less than a month. We've got 2 races to go after tonight. So every little bit point counts, and especially since that last race is worth double points. So if Otis can get 2 points here, who knows? The championship margin of victory could have been that pass that you saw on your screen just a minute ago. On your screen right now, we've got Joe Branch and George Inzaldo racing out there. Don't forget, you got Rory Collins back there. Rory Collins, one of the big movers in the field.
He definitely is, and he's made some textbook passes under the green flag run. He's got one more position to gain a top 10, and if he does get that top 10 spot, he's got to feel a little bit. That would be a whale of a day for Rory Collins, come from 30th starting position, and didn't even take a qualification time. We know he's got a fast car. He was 8th fastest, so we'll just have to see what he can do in these closing moments. Hopefully he can get past George Inzaldo, and George Inzaldo wants that top 10 spot so he can continue that top 10 streak.
I tell you what, going back up front, I want to talk again about Ryan Otis and Jake Wright. Look how much of a gap Ryan Otis has now been put onto Jake Wright. And that is, right now, looking at the gap is about almost a full second now between Ryan Otis and Jake Wright. So Ryan Otis now, he is on the hunt. He's going after Samuel Ryman here next as you look out the rear wing of Jason Galvin. We'll have to see if that battle between Ryman and Otis is going to shape up here over the next couple laps. But Otis is on the move.
Otis is definitely on the move. He is quick in these short runs, even though the lighter tank is Samuel Ryman. And Samuel Ryman is one of those drivers trying to make it to the end in these closing stages. But I tell you what, Otis is actually taking a better line than Ryman is. And that's where he's getting his speed on corner exit, utilizing that draft. He just does not want to fight arrow push.
And if Ryan Otis is able to get up there and make that pass,
that's another points.
2 points. And right now, he's showing the pace that he could very well make a play on Adam Blocker for third by the end of this thing. And that would be 3 points. So he's got 5 points right there looking out his front wing if he can just get up there and keep his run going.
I'll tell you what, man, Ryan Otis is just, I mean, he's bad fast usually wherever we go, just as much as Jake Wright is. But I tell you what, Otis knows, and he knows the situation in points. And if he can get that spot, that's 2 points. I mean, this championship fight between Otis and Wright is not over. I mean, it's just not. We got Phoenix coming up in 2 weeks, and then we go to Auto Club, which Auto Club is double points. So anything can happen.
And we've been talking so much about Otis and Wright here these last couple laps. Let's not forget who's leading this thing right now is third in points, Jason Galvin, who, if he wins here tonight, he got pole. He's led the most laps. He's led, obviously, a lap, and I don't believe he's had an incident yet. So he could very well come away out of this race with 64 points, where you look at Jake Wright right now, he would come away with 43 points. So that could very well be a 21-point swing for Jason Galvin back to Jake Wright, which is a huge deal also.
Oh, David Altman in trouble. I think he may be out of gas.
Yeah, I think he's coming in.
He's coming in. And look where he entered, too. He entered turn 3, just before he hit turn 3.
And Samuel Ryman's giving up the ghost also. Samuel Ryman's going to be coming in.
Yep, same spot on the speedway, coming in there.
I think they were holding out to the caution to the last possible second, but it's not going to happen for those guys here.
That is a killer because you have to travel 35 miles an hour all the way to your pit box and all the way to the exit.
Well, hey, let's go ahead. We do have 2 onboards that are still out there that we want to give a shout out to. Let's ride on board here with Jason Galvin real quick in the AGR Motorsports onboard camera. And what are you going to see out the front of Jason Galvin's machine? Well, the yellow flag waving. Yellow on the speedway.
Oh my gosh. I believe that Scott Johnson. That would be Scott Johnson, who was currently in 6th, having a great day.
Oh, and Joe Branch got into him.
Oh, that was a vicious hit. Dang, gone. I feel bad.
Yeah, that's going to put David Altman down 2 laps and Sammy Ryman down, I believe, at least a lap here also. Is right on board Joe Branch. And you'll see him get a face full of Scott Johnson here in just a second. Hard hit. Almost launched him head first into the wall right there.
Best way to describe that, pie in the face.
Pretty much. Well, we were giving the shout out to the AGR Motorsports camera on board Jason Galvin's machine. Another guy running an AGR Motorsports camera here tonight is George Anzaldo, who with that's going to move George Anzaldo now not with the positions to be able to gain on the racetrack, and with Ryman and Altman pitting, that's going to move him up to 7th position here on, 6th position now on the track. So George Anzaldo, hey, forget about a top 10. Let's go for a top 5 tonight, George.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, that's points too, right there. So that was actually 4 points on the speedway, if I'm not mistaken. So just given to the because drivers had a pit, but we're going green at least one more time here at Dover.
We'll have to see what happens. Is Sammy Ryman's going to try to get the wave around here and maybe get back onto the lead lap, as I think he got out there just in the nick of time to be able to get stuck between the pace car and Jason Galvin. So at least he'll be able to get back in the lap where David Altman had completed his stop. He had gotten back out on the racetrack, and he ended up a full 2 laps down. So at least at this stage of the race, with only probably going back to green at 6 laps to go, I think we could factor David Altman out of that. The strategy not working out in his favor tonight, but still should be able to come home with a top 16 finish. So at least halfway through the grid as far as all the cars started here tonight. All right, see if the lights go out on the pace car here this time by. No, lights stay on. So maybe a 5-lap shootout here at the end of this thing.
No matter how you show it, there's going to be at least one more green flag run. The next flag will pretty much end the race. It will end the race, in fact. So if we do see another caution, that ends it. So very interesting. It's going to be all for nothing right here on this restart coming up. This is probably going to be one of the most important restarts as far as trying to gain points and trying to gain more position on track.
Well, and you got to remember, out of the top 4, we've got 3 championship contenders here, and none of them want to get into trouble here on this last restart. So I got to tell you, Tanner, it might be. I mean, everybody wants to win the race, but you got to think about the big picture. It could very well be a conservative restart, at least at the top of the field.
It very well it might be. I mean, plus there could be some mind games playing because you got Jason Galvin's the one that's going to be controlling this restart coming to the green here. So there could be some mind games playing, and that's okay because you're going to outdo your other drivers. So we'll have to see. I think pace car lights are going to go off this time by, but I do got to give a shout out to Rory Collins. Looks like he's I don't want to get my hopes up just yet because we're not toward the checkered, but Rory Collins started 30th up to 7th. So far, he's en route for a top 10 finish today.
Well, we've got one more lap behind the amazing pace car speed of 45 miles an hour around Dover. Your top 5 here when we go back to green is going to be Jason Galvin, Adam Blocker, Ryan Otis, Jake Wright, and hey, look who's made it up to 5th, Christopher. And of course, we gave the shout out earlier, George Anzaldo and Rory Collins there running in 6th and 7th as well. Paulson has had himself a pretty decent day. He's running in 8th. Vincent Blumenthal back there as well, and Bart Workman had himself a quiet day also, so he'll be hopefully bringing it home a top 10 finish here today as well. So now the only thing left to do is let this pace car come back around, going through 3 and then into 4. We'll see him pull off here in just a second. Jason Galvin just waiting to try to go.
Oh boy.
This is it. Pace car's off. Jason Galvin goes right away. He gets a big jump on Adam Blocker. They are back to green flag racing in a big way. Ryan Otis had a lot of speed going right before that restart. Is he going to be able to keep it up here in this short sprint? We've got less than 5 laps to go here, coming up on 4 laps to go. And then that's going to be all she wrote. The race for the Cure 150 coming down to its conclusion. And Adam Blocker actually getting a pretty decent run here with Jason Galvin.
Yeah, he's the running man of Forrest Gump right now, trying to gain after Jason Galvin for that top spot. And believe it or not, we have not seen a battle for the race lead under green flag conditions all race long. And could it be in the closing moments of this race? But I don't know. Adam Blocker lost a little momentum coming off 4, which allowed Ryan Otis to reel him in. So far, top 3 drivers pretty even.
We're down to 3 to go now. As they're coming through 3 and 4. Adam Blocker, I think right now, is doing his best to hold off Ryan Otis. He's just hoping that Jason Galvin makes a mistake and lets him get back up there, as we're now at 2 laps to go. This thing's going to be over here before we know it. The margin between the two right now is only about a quarter of a second between Galvin and Adam Blocker, but Ryan Otis right underneath that rear wing of Adam Blocker. And they'll have to see. He's got limited time to do it. In fact, he's got 1 more lap to do it. White flag is out here at Dover. Jason Galvin coming around turns 1 and 2, flying at 180 miles an hour. Adam Blocker doing his best to try to do something with Ryan Otis back behind him. Ryan Otis just cannot get it done, but Jason Galvin does. He's your winner for the Race for the Cure 150. Adam Blocker, followed by Ryan Otis. That's your top 3 here tonight, as everybody finishes the race on that 5-lap sprint nice and clean. Well, I tell you what we're going to do, Tanner. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. We come back here in a minute. We'll give you your final rundown and talk to your winner. Well, we knew it would be a wild race for the Cure 150 here at Dover, and it did not disappoint. Jason Galvin, though, ran away with it. Here is your leaderboard to wrap this thing up here tonight. Coming home with the win, Jason Galvin. Adam Blocker coming home in second. Ryan Otis third. Jake Wright coming home in fourth. So there's your top three in points in the top four in this race. Not a big swing, but the key thing to remember is that Jake Wright's your points leader, and he finished behind those two, so he does lose a little bit of ground. could be big here over the next 2 races. Christopher in 5th. George Ansaldo coming home with his 3rd straight top 10 in 6th position. James Paulson in 7th. Rory Collins, big mover today, coming home in 8th. Vincent Blumenthal in 9th. And Bart Workman bringing her home in 10th position.
Yep, Frank Beezer is not going to get that top 10 tonight, but he will get the 11th place spot on track today. Brian Greenlee, the last car to finish on the lead lap, in 12th. Our very own Mr. Samuel Ryman tried pulling off field strategy or pit strategy, and it did not work. He'll finish 13th, 1 lap down. David Altman, same case as Ryman. He'll finish in 14th, 2 laps down. Pierre Deigel will finish in 15th. Matthew Mercer in 16th. 17th, Joe Branch in the 17th spot. Scott Johnson had a top 10 run going today. He'll wound up in 18th position. Robert Bluen, 19th. And rounding out that top 20 is Andrew Kinsella, who had a top 5 spot going today, but not going to happen today.
Yeah, coming home in 21st position, Mark Imuck, Mitchell Moeller in 22nd, Tony Schoen in 23rd. All these guys running into trouble. Travis Jägerleiner in 24th, Ron Hacker in 25th, Bob Mikas in 26th position, Big Joe Hasser in 27th, Scott McClendon, the pro peak antifreeze series driver, having a hardware failure here, unfortunately, tonight. 28th position, 29th, Scott Bolster. And my favorite painted car, Dylan McKenna, trouble early, his first couple laps of the race tonight, 30th position. I'll round out the field here real quick. Ed Tutwiler in 31st, and I do not believe David Cordy was able to take the green flag here for tonight. So, exciting race, and we've got the winner for you. I believe Tanner Sharp is going to catch up here with Jason Galvin and talk to him here this evening.
I definitely caught up with Jason Galvin here, and congratulations first off, Jason, on the victory. And to tell you what, nobody seemed like you could be challenged all race long. The only time that you were able to pass anybody was the drivers who were on field strategy. Tell me about your day on track.
Yeah, that was pretty flawless. That's as good as a race gets. I don't think I could be much happier with it. A little bit of redemption because 2 years in a row in the IndyCar here, I felt like I should have won the race, and Jason made silly mistakes. So this felt really good. It was cool to get my first pole. That might be my first official pole in any Lionheart series. I have to look. I'm pretty sure I haven't won a retro one, and I sat on the pole for an all-star race in IndyCar once, but I don't really count that necessarily. Yeah, no, I haven't had one. So yeah, my first ever pole, and a track that I love. I love Dover. I love everything about it. This is way different than what it's like in the IndyCar, but it's still a ton of fun. There's a lot that goes into it. It was really hard to pass tonight. I mean, I learned that. I know that they were on light fuel, but it was tough to try to run down Samuel and David, and I got fortunate there on that last restart that they ran with about 30 to go or so, 20, 25 to go, something like that. I got really, really lucky. Samuel, I think, tried to jump David a little bit. David, he was slowly accelerating. I wouldn't say he was going, but he was slowly accelerating. And Samuel tried to jump it, and I reacted to Samuel, and Samuel checked up, and I pulled second gear, and it slowed me down just enough that I never had to lift. I just had this huge run, so I got Sam into one, and next thing I knew, I was on David coming out at two, and he tried to defend a little bit, and there was just nothing he could do. So a little lucky with that, but I'll take it. They weren't going to make it on fuel anyways, and anytime you can hold off guys like Adam Blocker and Ryan Otis and Jake Wright, I tell you what, if you've paid attention to this series this year, you know that those three are in a world of their own in this race car. So if they're the three cars behind you when you're standing in victory lane, then you just say thank you very much and move on.
Absolutely, and I will say that you have recorded a pole in the Lionheart Racing Series, actually the entire league. Your last pole was back in, I believe it was March 9th, 2016 at Michigan. I actually literally looked up your stats.
See, that's what I'm saying. That was the All-Star race, so I don't count that. So, see, it counts, I guess, right? But for a points race, so that was pretty cool. It was fun night. I was really looking forward to this race and the end of this schedule. I was so mad at myself last week at Barber. I made a mistake and wrecked myself out, and that was not fun. So this was good redemption. We go to my quasi home track in Phoenix next, where I used to work. And then we go to my real home track at Auto Club after that to close out the year. So I need a little bit of help to catch Ryan Otis. The points haven't been updated yet, but this should pretty much lock me into third as long as I don't mess up or get caught in something the last two races. And if I finish third to Ryan and Jake, then I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet this had been a little more of a redemption for you, because the last time you led this amount of laps was probably back at Indianapolis, and I bet this had felt like a redemption race for you. And speaking of that, a great run today overall. How about carrying another victory for victory number 4 into Phoenix in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I like my chances. I mean, you just never know, frankly. You don't ever know in this series. And like I said, you look at guys like Jake and Ryan, and I'm going to imagine that Adam's going to be pretty difficult to beat. David Altman has come on really strong here. He ran the fastest lap of the race tonight. So, there's going to be a lot of guys. But I love Phoenix. And if I recall, I think we're running old school Phoenix, which is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. This is a driver's car, and that was a driver's track. So it's a lot like Dover, bumpy and gritty. So it could be a lot of fun.
All right, Jason. Well, I'm going to let you get back celebrating with your team here at Dover. Congratulations on the win, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Phoenix.
All righty, thank you. I just want to say congratulations real quick to George with a great run, my teammate in 6th there with AGR. And finally, if you don't mind for 1 second here, we all know what went on Sunday night, and a lot of people know what I do for a living, but I don't know if a lot of people realize that in my community, in Bakersfield, where I'm a news reporter, we lost 4 people in that, including the daughter of the racetrack here in town, Bailey Schweitzer. She was 20 years old. The dirt track here at Bakersfield is one of the longest running dirt tracks in America, and I want everybody to know that everybody's thinking about them. If you know somebody, and I think a lot of people do, that was affected by that, that we're all thinking about them. And most important, don't take anything for granted. Go home. Hug your loved ones. Tell somebody you love them. Do something nice for somebody tomorrow, because there's some crazy people in this world.
My thoughts and prayers as well. It goes out to the ones who were a victim to Las Vegas down there this past Sunday night. Thank you, Jason, and we'll see you at Phoenix.
All righty, guys. Thank you.
That was Jason Galvin, Adam, finishing position number 1, and he's on a hot streak, a threat for a contender to win. But I believe, who have you caught up with?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and have the Adam and Adam show here for a minute. Adam Blocker, hey, great run here for you tonight. You had one really good run right there at the tail end, but you couldn't do anything with Jason here for tonight. But overall, you had a pretty clean race. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
It wasn't the most eventful race. I just sat behind Jason the whole race and couldn't pass him, and no one could pass me. And the strategy was pretty straightforward. So I don't know. It was a pretty. I'm not gonna say it was an easy race, but it was pretty straightforward. I did brush the wall a couple times, and that almost got me in trouble with people almost letting Jake or Ryan pass. But
well, and you've been on just such a tear since you joined the series. I mean, everybody's taking notice of you and everything else. Now, the big thing I got to ask is how big of a threat are you going to be at Phoenix and Auto Club here in a few weeks?
I don't know. I didn't really expect that much out of tonight because, I don't know, short ovals, I'm kind of hit and miss on those, but I don't really have a very good track record at Phoenix, and I've never really raced that much at Auto Club, so I can't say much. But all I can say is, I've done well pretty much in every race in this car, because for some reason I just like racing this car on road or oval. So I'm definitely looking forward to him. I think I have a good shot as long as I do what I've been doing.
Well, I'm going to ask you now, just in case we don't get the chance to ask you later, are we going to see you back in 2018 here in the Lionheart Retro Series?
Oh yeah, that's the plan. Plan on running both Lionheart Series next year. I think my recent performances, I can set a realistic goal of challenging Jake and Ryan for the championship. But I don't know how it'll go down, but I'm definitely looking forward to it and definitely aiming for that.
Well, Adam, I think we can count you in as an early championship contender for 2018. But hey, we hope to talk to you again here in a couple weeks. Anybody you'd like to say hi to here real quick?
Just want to give a shout out to Stouffer for finishing 5th. He had a pretty good charge from 14th. That's pretty notable at this track with this setup. And then, unfortunately, my other teammates, Kinsella, Branch, and Shaolin, they were all strong, but they had problems. But I'm sure they would have been right up there with us. And just want to thank you guys for calling the race.
Hey, we appreciate you too, Adam, and we'll talk to you again next time. And with that, Tanner, we've just got word that they have updated the points, and just want to kind of give you a verbal recap of what's going on here. So Jake Wright, of course, still the leader, but Ryan Otis closed the gap just a little bit. It was 71 points to start the race. Now it's down to 68 points here as we go into next week. So he gained 3 points. And then also Jason Galvin went into this race 103 points behind Jake Wright. Well, now he is, let's see here, run the numbers in my head, he is 87 points behind. So some big points gains. And I've got to ask, what's your final thoughts here before we wrap this thing up?
Well, it's going to be very tight no matter which way you look at it. Jake Wright, Ryan Otis, and Galvin. If Jake Wright walks away with the championship, there's still a battle on point for second in points, because the second in points only separated by 19 points between the two drivers. So it's going to be a fun one to watch when we go to Phoenix in 2 weeks, and then that championship race at Auto Club Speedway, which is going to be double points. So I'm really curious what's going to happen at Phoenix. Phoenix might be the one that might be the game changer in points, but we'll have to wait and see in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, Tanner, we'll see you also in 2 weeks. And with that, we want to, of course, thank the organizer of the Lionheart Retro Series. And you can visit them at LionheartRacingSeries.com. So definitely go check them out. Jack Bogan helped sponsor tonight's race. We also want to give a shout out to him. Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see they're listed on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can also find at the websites listed. Thanks to the team today, Tanner, Joe, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at GlobalSimRacingChannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. What's up next? Well, go west, young man. And that's what we're doing for the final 2 races of the season. Next up is going to be Phoenix for another 150-mile affair. And this one's going to be on the old configuration of Phoenix, the 2008 configuration. That's going to be October 19th at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also have the upcoming races for other series on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.